unfortunately, the media, with the Islamophobic agenda, will talk about forced marriages, violence, honor killings, all of which are not Islamic and have no place in Islam.
After being Muslim, Ibn Radley have been known as one of the great defendants of Islam and Islamic issues, especially hijab. And there is a great story about that in Turkey. I've read that you have been prevented to make a lecture in the beginning. They wanted to prevent you from making a lecture unless you take off your hijab.
Yes.
Can you tell me the story?
That was in Istanbul, and I went into a university, and as I walked through the security, this man came forward and he told me to remove my hijab. I didn't understand what he was saying. I think he thought that I was Turkish. And the sister with me translated, and I turned around and said, "Shame on you. How dare you ask me as your sister in Islam to remove my hijab?" And he was trying to explain that it was his job and that he had to do this. And I asked him, is that how he would defend himself on the day of judgment? And he was saying, please, you know, just remove your hijab. And I said, no, I'm not taking it off. If you want to take it off, you'll have to rip it off my head. And he looked, and I think I made a reference to, I'm sure your mother will be very proud of you, and that was it. I don't know what it is about men and their mothers, but he just and walked to the end and just went like that. So I went in to this this conference, and it was about human rights, and I made a speech, and I had a very good translator, and I got to the point where I was telling the story about being asked to remove my hijab.
Yeah.
And I likened this sort of persecution to the way that Jews were treated during the run-up to the Holocaust, and said didn't have to remove anything, but they had to put on a yellow star so they could be seen. And you know, this is it is wrong to discriminate against people like this. And then I said, and what is wrong with my hijab? Would the Turkish military, rather their wives and daughters behaved like drunken Westerners on their south coastline and walk around very, you know, almost naked? Or would they prefer their wives and daughters to dress like me and wear a hijab? And the girl stopped translating because she said, I can't, but most of the people in the audience understood the English and cheered. So I haven't been back, no, I've been back to Turkey once since, and I've been fine. So
you didn't face any problem in Turkey? It's not that.
No, and I do take advantage of the fact that I'm a woman and that I'm a Westerner and a visitor, so I know that I can get away with saying a little more perhaps than other people can. Okay,
and also one of the things that you're famous for is being defendant for the Palestinian case, and as you said, it was 20 years ago. But I would like to stop at a specific moment when you decided to join a convoy to break the siege against Gaza. Also, I'd like to know this story.
This was, the first time was by boat, and no boat had sailed into Gaza in more than 40 years.
It was before the clashes of last December.
Yes, it was in the August of 2008. And people think that the siege by Israel is 2-3 years old. It's not. It has been enforced for decades. And so there was great excitement when the Gazans heard that some crazy peace activists were coming over in 2 boats. And as we sailed towards the Gazan waters, there were 3 Israeli gunboats in the area, and we had been told that there would be naval practices for war games, and we could be targeted. The Israelis made it quite plain what they would do if they decided to. And we know that Israel is not afraid to take any action, but we just thought they wouldn't dare kill 42 international peace activists, would they? But it was quite nerve-wracking. Our communications went down, our mobile phones were jammed, our satellites went down. It was pitch black, we were in international waters, and we knew that there were 3 Israeli gunboats around us, and we thought, you know, this is it. And then I just thought to myself, well, I can't think of any finer way of going, of leaving this planet than dying for Palestine. And I thought, this will get me to paradise for sure. So I just thought, you know, I'm fine. And the fear just left me. And I thought, you know, if they kill us, what is the worst thing that can happen? I'm going to go straight to paradise, inshallah. So bring it on.
Inshallah.
That didn't happen for some reason. As we got closer and closer to Gaza, the 3 gunboats kept their distance, and then news came through that they had decided not to intercept us. And people said later, oh, so Israel gave you permission. And I said, no, they did not give us permission. We did not ask Israel if we could go to Gaza. The reality is they couldn't stop us. And we were determined. And we arrived in Gazan waters, the first boats in more than 40 years, and people just went crazy, you know, and celebrated as only the Palestinians know how. And we had the most amazing reception, and that will live with me for the rest of my life. In fact, you know, I feel quite emotional now just thinking about that wonderful scene of sailing into Gaza and meeting the strongest, courageous, most brave people on earth, and for everything that they have gone through. Nobody knows how to enjoy life and love life the way the people in Gaza do.
You met the people over there in the leadership in Gaza?
Yes, I met Ismail Haniyeh, and he gave me a Palestinian passport, and he said, you are now a Palestinian citizen. And I remember turning round to the media with this passport.
Yeah, I've seen this photo, yeah.
And saying, now I have a prime minister of whom I can be proud. And Ismail Haniyeh, you know, he's a very serious, dour man, and very somber. And as the translation came through, friends told me you could just see his face just break into this uncharacteristic smile, and it was just, you know, a fantastic time.
You didn't feel any fear walking in Gaza in these days, especially, and they are saying that there's no security in Gaza and there's a problem, security issues in Gaza. You didn't feel that?
Well, one of the biggest concerns of the security was that, you know, we've got these 42 Westerners, a lot of Americans, you know, this is a nightmare for us. And so they put us into a lovely hotel and said, you have security, do not leave the hotel, only as a group. And myself and filmmaker Aki Nawaz decided, you know, this isn't the way we want to be in Gaza. We're here to make a documentary. And so we left the hotel, and the security man from Hamas said, you can't go any further. I said, look, I was captured by the Taliban and released. I said, I am worthless now as a kidnap person. I said, anybody who kidnaps me will be told, you know, forget it. we don't care anymore if she disappears again. I said, and he's from Pakistan. I said, you're not going to get more than 1,000 rupees for him. And he just started laughing. He said, oh, go. So we went and we walked around very freely. We spoke to people on the beaches. Some of them liked Hamas.